Oh, we got another one of these. So we have this quote from Seth Rogan about not wanting to have kids. And it's really sad, but I do think there is some defense I'll throw the way of these individuals only a little bit. And look, I think it's great to have kids. I think you should have kids. I think more people should have kids. I think the climate cultists don't want you to have kids, and the Malthusians don't want you to have kids, but I think you should. And before I get millions of comments from people being like, "Where's your kids, Tim?" I'll just put it this way: we have 2 extra bedrooms in our house, like family planning. We'll leave it at that. Personal business. But I do think there is something to give. On like a scale of 1 to 10, I will give a 9 in the criticism and a 1 in the defense of people like Seth Rogan. But let's roll with this. Here's the quote: "We're effing psyched all the time. We're laying in bed on Saturday mornings, smoking weed, watching movies naked. If we had kids, we could not be effing doing this." Okay, I'm just going to say this. It's a weird thing for someone who hasn't experienced something to be like, it is better to not have experienced said thing. There are people who have kids, and the overwhelming majority, this is true, would not give up their children to go back to lying in bed, sleeping in naked, and smoking pot. Right, let me just put it this way. Ask anybody who has children, and you may find some people who say yes because they don't like their kids. It happens. It does. Overwhelming majority of people, obviously, if you asked them, would you rather have children, your kid right now, you have a child, you've experienced life with your child. Would you rather keep your child and everything you've been through? Yeah, the poopy nights and the rough times and the waking up in the middle of the night. Would you give all that up if you could go back to laying in bed naked for extended periods of time and smoking pot? And you know what they will tell you? They will say, I wouldn't give up my child for anything. That's a fascinating thing. I don't have kids. Like I mentioned, extra bedrooms in the house, family planning. But I certainly can recognize objective fact. Humans have always loved having children, overwhelmingly. And while there are many people who may not like kids, and some people are better off not having kids and they don't want to have kids, I can respect that. The overwhelming majority of human beings want to have kids, enjoy having kids, and feel passion, love, and purpose for having kids. Why? If they didn't, there would be no humans. So we have this. And the 1 degree of defense I want to give to people like this, 1 degree, but 9 degree of criticism. You got to understand, this could be a cope, right? Seth Rogan with his wife. Here's what I think about. What if his wife can't have kids? What if something happened to her and they cried over it and she miscarried? And so when people come to them and say, you should be having kids, why don't you have kids? Maybe he gets defensive and doesn't want to say something as personal as, my wife had cancer and now she can't and we're struggling with this. Maybe he just wants to appear strong and say, no, we're totally happy. Everything's great. That's why I say 1 degree. You always got to recognize sometimes there are people who can't have kids and they're miserable because of it, and they know they're miserable and they wish they could. That being said, you can't then come out and encourage people to live lives like this. You got to encourage people to have kids, and I'll tell you why. What I said was, Seth Rogan can say all of this stuff, and then 40 years from now, Seth will be dead. And I mean that in a mean way. Like, I don't know how old he's in his late 40s. That'll be past life expectancy, likely be dead. His wife will be alive, and she will be petitioning government to pay for her assisted living. I do not believe this system will work at all. If you have a bunch of women are going to live longer than men for a variety of reasons. I love the memes where it's like, why do women live longer than men? It's like a guy jumping off of a garage roof onto a picnic or onto a folding table and smashing it. And it's like, there's a lot of reasons. That could be one of them. But what's going to happen without family? You see, still, we have kids who put their parents in assisted living, and because they can't afford it and they need someone full time to help their parents as they age and things like that. I get it. It's not easy. Your parents go to a home where someone can help them, assisted living, but the kids pay for it. Granted, there still is some government paying for it. But what happens when there's no kids? It's going to get really, really weird. All the things they own will be inherited by the state. The state will become empowered. Then the people who are living will say, give that stuff to us to fund. It's going to create a very broken and weird system. When you go to the younger generation and say people you do not know who have no kids require your labor to support them, they're going to say, no way. I'm not giving my hard-earned tax money and labor to these people. Why? That system will not be sustainable. And so when they say things like, we're smoking weed and we're laying in bed all day, it's like, okay. And in 40 years, what are you going to do? More importantly, I want you to understand, as I've mentioned this several times before, this woman, I don't know her name, Seth Rogan will die before his wife. And it's really easy for him to say this. You know why? As he's lying on his deathbed, as all humans will, he will be holding onto the hand of his wife, saying, we had a tremendous, amazing adventure. I love you so much. Thank you for being my everything. And then his wife will cry as his heart stops. The news reports will spread far and wide. Famous comedian Seth Rogan passes at 83 years old or whatever. And it'll be a sad day. It's a sad day when anyone dies. But what about her? What about her? She'll live. And one day, she'll feel ill, and she'll be in the hospital, and she'll be in her hospital bed. The doctor will walk in and say, ma'am, I'm sorry, it's terminal. Is there anyone you'd like me to call? And she's going to go, no. Well, okay, we're here if you need us. Just press the button. And he'll walk out of the room, and she'll be sitting there in the dim light, staring at a blank TV, whimpering to herself as she passes away, alone, terrified, with nothing. That's horrifying. Imagine the alternative. You have a bunch of kids, and then you are old and you are dying. The doctor says, ma'am, I'm sorry, but it's terminal. He then turns to your children who are there with you the whole time and says, we're here if you guys need anything from us. And the children then sit down next to mom with their grandkids, and the grandkids are crying and saying, Grandma, we love you. Thank you for everything. And you say, don't forget the recipes I gave you. You need to make sure you get the Christmas tree up. No more waiting. And don't forget the secret ingredient in the cake recipe. And the children will say, I won't forget it, Mom. And you will pass in a bright room with smiling, crying faces, crying, saying, we love you and we'll always love you. Thank you for everything. It's not always so perfect. Sometimes you die in a car accident. I should say you, but sometimes people die in a car accident and it happens before anyone realizes it. Sometimes the kids are able to make it there in time. But you will know that everything you've done was not in vain and will live on forever. I want to wrap up this segment by showing you exactly why you want to have children. And I don't mean to drag these wonderful people into this, but they've got, they have 700,000 followers on Instagram. And it is an Instagram account called Chasing Sage, where I believe it is a couple and their two children. And I don't think they show they present their real names. You can never see their faces because they're wearing goggles. But Instagram recommended me these videos, and it was the best Instagram recommendation. You see, I skateboard and sometimes rollerblade. Was rollerblade only for like a little bit in my life in the past year. Mostly skateboard though. And recently, snowboarding and skiing. I recently started skiing. I have more fun skiing because I'm never going to be someone doing like 1260s on a snowboard. So I really just want to ride down the mountain. And I think skiing is easier to get started with. I'm better at snowboarding. On a snowboard, I've gone down double black diamonds, powder days, so not like ice or anything like that. But on a snowboard, I know how to stop and go and spin. And I've actually done some really basic tricks and stuff like that. But skiing is just, I'm learning how to ski, hockey stop, and do all the basic stuff. And it's easier to get on and off the lifts. It's less stressful. It's just chill. And that's where I'm at in my life. So Instagram recommends me this video of I believe she's 5. It's a family with their 5-year-old. And there's a reason why they have 700 followers. And there's a reason why humans have survived as long as they did. Because humans want to have children. And I believe videos like this are probably like the most inspiring things to have kids. I want to play just a simple clip for this. And I want to stress this to the family. I'm not trying to make anything they're doing political. I have no political statements to make about these family or cultural statements. It's just snowboarders with their kids. But tell me, for those of you who don't yet have kids and you are young, tell me that this you still want to, tell me you don't want to have kids after watching that. I'm going to play this video for you. Just listen.
I have a power stash. Shredosaurus coming through. Make some room because it's coming through. Woo-hoo! Snowboarding on a volcano. Snowboarding on a volcano.
All right.
See, the sun's coming out. Try not fall on your bum. I went through that power, didn't I? Root. I found a root. Now I snowboard just like Mom. Somebody lost their underwear on the Christmas tree. Wah! Wah! That was fun.
Okay, so not only are children the most important resource of a nation because they create the next wave of humans to inherit the earth. This is why I say crimes against children are the most egregious crimes that could be committed. Murder is not nearly as bad as harming children because these children, they inherit the earth. They carry on our legacy. They make civilization. We were all children once, and now here we are as adults inheriting this system with responsibility. And those that get abused and harmed, well, that impairs the entirety of civilization. Murder, of course, is bad. One of the worst crimes. But when you look at this, I think the best way it's been explained to me, as someone who does not have kids, but is certainly in the family planning stages, and we'll just leave it at that. It's funny because people just don't shut up. They're like, have kids, Tim. And I was like, guys, calm down. I am an advocate for having families. What I hear from people is that, you know, when you're a kid, you have that excitement and that wonder. Everything's brightly colored and tastes so good, and you're excited for the next day, and you want more, and you want to learn, and you want to experience. And when you get older, things dull a little bit. The colors are no longer as bright. It's true. You see colors more vibrantly when you're younger. We know that. Sounds, you hear more sounds. Your hearing gets worse. And things become routine. Been there, done that. Me personally, I've traveled the world. I've been to 30 some odd, 40 countries or whatever. It's crazy. And I've had all these experiences. And what I was told is that feeling that you had that goes away as you get older reignites when you are with your children and you are showing them these things and you can see the feeling, you live vicariously through them. Now, some people do it badly. The parents who want their kids to play baseball and succeed because they're living vicariously through their children in that way, things can be bad. But it's okay. If you always wanted to be a pro baseball player, so you raise a kid to be a pro baseball player, it feels great. You get to share in that experience and watch them succeed. There are skateboarders whose children are famous professionals, and they never were because they loved skating and they gave that to their children, and their children accomplished the dreams. And through that, they can smile and say that's what they contributed. They understood. They lived a life, and they said it wasn't for me, but I can make it for someone else. And so when I see these videos, and it's not there's other channels on Instagram where they have kids mic'd up, snowboarding and stuff. It makes you want to have kids of your own. It makes you understand why children must be protected, why we have to have these laws, why child abusers need to go to prison, why Epstein is the most atrocious monster one could imagine. Because it shows you why humans have survived. It shows you we get it. We're human. We like kids. We want to have kids and protect them from evil and abuse and monsters. And that's why there are so many people on the right who are concerned about the books that are in these schools. And it's why there are so many people who would insult and rag on Seth Rogan for saying something as stupid as Saturday morning, I wake up smoking weed, watching movies naked. If we had kids, we could not be doing this. I'll give him a shout out. At least he's recognizing he shouldn't have kids because of the things he prioritizes. And certainly there are parents, even though they have kids, smoke weed, watch movies naked, and lay in bed all day. And that sucks for those kids. So I can respect someone recognizing they'd be a bad parent not having kids, sure. For all the bad things about Seth Rogan, he's a talented guy. He's not a political guy. He's not smart in politics, but he's funny. And it's unfortunate that there is talent that will not be carried on into the world. That after billions of years of human evolution and reproduction, it ends with you. It's a sad prospect. It saddens me to see that Seth Rogan, for all of his successes, despite our political disagreements, will not continue what he was and share that. We are immortal, not in the way that people want to be, but everything that makes you you can be carried on when you have a family. So you know what? I'll say this. You don't got to have kids. Don't do it if you don't want to. Some people have kids when they're older, some when they're younger. Certainly younger is the way to do it. And I can recognize that being, I'm going to turn 38 in 3 days and I don't have kids. But like I mentioned, family planning. And so, not everybody, it's not for everybody. But I certainly think that society, humanity, everything is better off when people do have children. I was flying on a plane recently, and these cities are massive. And I do have concerns about overpopulation. I wouldn't call myself as Malthusian, a Malthusian. I believe that human technology and advancement solves the problem of overpopulation as it solves every problem that we faced. The reality, I think, is that we do need a reformation in our culture. We need to reinvigorate it. We need more responsibility. Because when you maximize human potential, technology rapidly progresses. And with this exponential gain in technological advancement, overpopulation is no longer an issue. We've figured out how to sustain the machines, colonize other planets, explore the stars, and that's the future I want to see, which means we need cultural reinvigoration. And it means people need to have more kids. But it also means that if there are bad people with bad ideas who would burn the system down and they don't have kids, I ain't going to cry all that much about it. So you know what? As a lot of people would rag on and insult Seth Rogan for not having kids, I think we should be congratulating him and cheering for him. I think we can recognize the idea is bad. People should have kids. But how about this? Somebody who doesn't want to, and they only want to sit around smoking weed and watching movies naked, they probably should not have kids because they wouldn't be good parents. They recognize that. And we do not want people of that, circumstance to carry on to the next generations. It may be with liberals aborting their kids and sterilizing their kids and refusing to have kids in the first place. Only those who are truly responsible and truly want to have kids begin to do so. It may be that something Idiocracy missed comes to fruition. Idiocracy is a great movie, but there needs to be an inversion, a more positive view. In the film Idiocracy, what happens is only those who reproduce the most are the most successful, and smart people tend not to reproduce because, concerns about the economy or otherwise. But I think what Mike Judge missed, and maybe only could have realized today, is that it is lazy, entitled individuals who are not having kids. And it is right-leaning, family-oriented people who are. More conservative and religious folk are having kids. So the future likely won't be like Idiocracy. It'll be more like theocracy. I suppose we'll see. I got no beef. Seth, don't have kids if you don't have kids. I think he's a funny guy. I think he's made a lot of great movies. This Is the End is legit one of the funniest movies ever. But I can separate politics from the art. I can recognize there are people I disagree with who can make funny jokes. I think comedy is being killed by a lot of these woke ideologies, and I'd like to see a resurgence, but it's sad when people say they don't want to carry on. But it is what it is. No one's forcing him to do it. And as I already mentioned, they probably shouldn't if they don't want to. There are a lot of issues already with kids who don't have parents, kids who have bad parents. Adoption certainly is an important thing. And I'll shout out a lot of these conservatives because the left likes to say that these pro-life people never adopt, when in fact, pro-life people are more likely to adopt than pro-choice people. Isn't that funny? The pro-choice people are like, how many of you adopted? Haha, got you. And then it's like, actually, people who are pro-life tend to adopt substantially more than people who are pro-choice because they actually believe they actually believe in this stuff. I guess, however, many on the left just blindly follow the talking points and the manipulation. And then the end result is fairly obvious. If you do not have strength of mind to resist manipulation and propaganda, you're not going to survive no matter what. And that could mean attrition over time. You don't have kids, your kids die, your kids are sterilized, you abort your kids. Or it could mean that you fall victim to scams and other crises that over a long enough period of time result in a loss of life. I think it's all unfortunate. But what can you do? You can lead a horse to Harvard, but you can't make him learn, can you? And so for people like Seth Rogan who have grown up this way and his wife, maybe the reality is they just shouldn't have kids. But I'll add this too. You get all these people and they're nasty. They're nasty people, not everybody. They go online and they attack and insult anybody who says they don't want to have kids or don't have kids without taking into consideration what the circumstances may be. You catch more flies with honey. Actually, you catch more flies with human waste, but you get the point. As the saying goes, for humans at least, you've got to be nice. Not everybody deserves you to be. Not everybody deserves your respect and you being nice to them. But for someone you don't know, I'll leave it there. Good luck, Seth Rogan. Next segment is coming up at 6 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.